Warning. This show might contain adult language. Warning. This show might contain adult language.
We point again, ole, ole.
Well done, Nigel. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. And I was going to say warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. How about a hot welcome to the Red and Blue Review? What a fantastic day it's been out there. I hope you're all enjoying the lovely weather, as Ian Roberts has already said in the chat. This is our penultimate show of the season. My name is Nick Philpott. There's going to be a slight change to our normal procedure this evening. We're going to be talking about the other teams and the released players and the contract extended players. Obviously, Ian's going to go through the game from Molineux yesterday. And then in the middle of all that, I'm going to be having a chat with you because it appears that I attempted to break the internet today, and from some of the comments that are on there, I've succeeded. So excellent. So we'll discuss all that. And the views I'm going to share during the course of this show are purely and simply my own opinion. I know they will not resonate with a lot of the fans. I know that it certainly will not resonate with my panel, who I should introduce to you shortly, but we're going to be doing it anyway because I feel very strongly about a particular subject in that. And I know we've actually had a few extra people joined us on Twitter today, followed us on Twitter today, so they could actually tune in this evening. So if you are one of those ladies and gentlemen that have joined us on Twitter, welcome to the Red and Blue Review, and welcome to everybody that's already out there in the chat that I can see you all. Andy Best, Paul Holden, Daniel Garley, Dave Champion, Chloe, and loads more. Thank you for joining us. And aren't we playing well? Good evening, gentlemen. Let's start with Mr. Noble. How are you, bud?
Good evening, Nick. Yes, I'm very well indeed. Good evening, everyone. Good to see so many people joining us for your usual suspects. It's great, isn't it, supporting this club at the moment? Really, really good.
Happy times, isn't it? Happy times, unless somebody actually goes and ruins it. Tim Richards, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you, Lord Philpott. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. I would just like to say that Wendy has actually banned the Mateta song because she said once she hears it, it goes in her head and she's humming it all day.
It's a proper
I am now banned from going boom, boom, boom.
It is a proper earworm, but I do love that LA song. I think it's so catchy, and seeing you guys at the back of the stand yesterday singing it was just outstanding. It was brilliant. Evening, Jordan. I can see you, mate. I'm well, thank you. I hope you are too. And a late replacement for Joe Holyoke this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Paul Gear, aka the Real Panel. Thank you for joining us at such short notice this evening, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Still struggling with the voice like last week. I'm having to celebrate another 3 goals yesterday.
I don't know how you're coping.
Becoming a real chore, but it's. I'm bearing up and putting up with it. But yeah, it's all great. As Ian says, it's long may continue. It's just great. I mean, it's such a shame the season has to end so soon. But
do you know what? Isn't it a shame that this couldn't have started 6 months ago? I wonder where we would be now, boys. Okay, I wonder where we would be. Anyway, so let's kick off if you don't mind. I'm going to get a couple of the housekeeping bits out of the way. If you're okay, have a breather, boys. Have a drink. Have a relax. Okay. The results from our other teams since our last show: the under-21s don't play until Wednesday, the 15th of May. Please make a note in your diary for those because I'm thinking about going on to this myself. They play at Sellers Park on Wednesday night. Kick off at 7:00. Crystal Palace under-21s versus PSV Eindhoven's under-21s in the final of the Premier League International Cup. So it'll be well worth your while getting down there. Let's hope the winning bug continues to those guys because obviously they played the same team last year in the final and sadly came up second best. Let's hope they can go one better this year. The under-21s final match of the season finished 6th on 41 points. Reading under-21s versus Palace, Reading under-23s versus Palace under-18s or even. Okay, Palace ran out 3-0 winners. And the women's season completed last week, as we know, as they ended up champions. Okay, and there you go. That was at the under-21s. The loan watch. How have our loan players done this week? That are loaned out to English teams will have returned to SE25 now their seasons are completed. Killian Phillips was not in the squad for Aberdeen, who won 4-0 away at Hibs today. Michele Boateng played 78 minutes for Dundee, who lost 3-0 away at Hearts. And Malcolm Aviobi and Teo Adramola were not part of the squad for RWD Molenbeek, who lost 2-0 away to ASB Eupen in the sixth round of sixth in the Belgian Pro League relegation playoff. RWD Molenbeek were then relegated to the Challenger Pro League. Luke Plange played 67 minutes for HLK Helsinki, who won 1-0 away to Turku. Will Hughes and Jeffrey Schlupp have both signed contract extensions. Joel Ward, Will Hughes and Jeffrey Schlupp have all signed contract extensions, keeping them with us until the end of 2025, which is fantastic news. And a massive thank you goes out to both James Tompkins and Jairo Riedewald, who sadly will both be leaving SE25 when their contracts expire this summer. Tompkins has made 135 appearances in all competitions for the club, while Riedewald had played 95 times in all competitions in 2017. The midfielder scored 3 times in the red and blue. But I do want to just point out on that one, the big one to me was James Tompkins. What a fantastic servant he has been for the club, boys. Would you not agree? I mean, I think we bought him from West Ham for the measly sum of 10 million quid. Paul, your thoughts on Tomo?
Yeah, I mean, he did a great job the first few years he was there. He played most weeks under Pardew, and then under Allardyce, he was quite a key figure. And he popped up, scored a lot of goals for centre-back as well. He was always one of the first names on the team sheet back then. Obviously, time caught up with him. I think he had a few injuries as well, which probably never really sort of cost him some pace a bit and things like that. And he then became a squad player. And to be fair to him, he's never moaned. He's sat on the bench. He's done his job when he's called upon. So he's turned into the perfect squad player. He's done his time now. It's probably his time to say goodbye. But yeah, you can't argue with that. You say 10 million quid, well spent, and we got some good service out of him.
And in the 3 contract extensions, you're happy with those? And Chloe's just asked in the chat, will Wardy get a testimonial? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm delighted for the 3 players that have got the extensions, and I think they're all thoroughly deserved. We've seen certainly Will Hughes totally rejuvenated under Glasner. Schluppy's always done well when called upon. The goal at Fulham the other week was just fantastic. And Joel Ward as well. We run out of words for Joel Ward, don't we? I tweeted about his chairman's award on Tuesday night last, and it was great to see that video. If you watch that video, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. That's the first thing I'd say. But I dare anyone that loves Palace to watch that video and not have a tear in their eye, because it was fantastic to see all the ex-players bigging Wardy up, saying what a great guy he is, as well as a great footballer. And he's been just a tremendous servant for Crystal Palace. Absolute steal, of course, £400,000 from Pompey all those years ago. Will he get a testimonial? Well, I think if he wants one, he can probably have one. But testimonials aren't what they used to be, are they? Testimonials used to be the last big payday for a player. Obviously, Jules had one, which was super a few years back, but that was the last one I remember. So I don't know whether they can fit it into the calendar. That's the only reason why he wouldn't have a testimonial, I think.
Tim, your thoughts on the 3 players extended? Anybody else you would have done? Would you have added Gyro to that list, or are you happy with the 3 that they've kept? Are they great?
No, I think, to be fair, excuse me, I'm delighted they're all staying. I'll be interested what happens with Kleiny. I don't know what his contract situation is, but he'd be another one listening to Glasner that I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an extension as well.
Yeah,
they are talking to him and Matthews. They're the other 2 that are out of contract. They're in negotiations, so they're obviously wanting them to stay.
Talk about transformations, Ian. You mentioned just a minute ago about transformations under Glasner. But I mean, my God, Nathaniel Klein yesterday and over the last few weeks. I mean, how old is he now? He must be 34, 35?
33, 34, something like that. Yeah, someone can tell us if they know exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will in the chat. But I mean, the guy he's playing out of his skin. He's like running around like an 18-year-old. What the hell was he doing? We'll cover it later on. I know we will. But what the hell was he doing in the box?
Search me, plays centre back now, and he was in the box. And
what's all that
it was
about?
a good effort, wasn't it? It was a good effort for sure. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on to something a little bit more serious. I mean, just in case those of you that are not aware, that I thought the most funniest thing I heard of yesterday was that our manager Oliver Glasner has also been now linked to, as well as the rest of our playing squad, by the way, linked to every club in the world. Okay, our manager, after how long has he been with us? 8 weeks, is it? 9 weeks, something like that.
12 games.
He's now been linked to, is it Bayern Munich? Like he's going to walk away. I mean, admittedly, that would be probably a real big feather in his cap for him if he got that job. But I'm sure he's got no intentions of leaving a project, not even half started, let alone half finished. But the more serious subject I want to talk about is Dougie Freedman, the director of football, or technical director, I think is his correct title. Ladies and gentlemen, since he came back from Bolton, my views on the subject of his return was always alien to the rest of the Red and Blue Review team. I've voiced it enough times on here, so I'm not going to bore everybody with it. Everybody makes a mistake in my world, okay? Everybody's entitled to make a mistake, and everybody's entitled to learn from their mistake. I honestly believe, as a long-standing Crystal Palace supporter, and I really did nearly break the internet earlier with some of the comments on there were as random as my thought process on it. I honestly believe that Crystal Palace Football Club are on the cusp of something monumental, something that's never happened in their history. Okay, if we're pretty sure we're going to lose the likes of Mark and Michael this summer. I'm going to issue with any of that. Okay, I haven't got a problem with that because I'm hoping that we're going to then reinvest any funds we get from him to help Glasner lay the foundation for what he wants to do. So I've got no issue with that. Now, the one person, Glasner actually made light of this the other day, that he's talking to Dougie Freedman, Steve Parish every day, every single day. So they've obviously already come up with what they want. Okay, they've already come up with what they plan to do and everything else, and the players that they've identified. So I wouldn't be surprised if we've already had negotiations with the players that we want, agents, and so on and so forth. So wheels are in motion. And then come along Newcastle frigging United. Now, Dougie, being our technical director, could really scupper any plans that we have going forward this summer. They've identified the players. He could easily, and although he hasn't been appointed yet, but the big thing here is he has been interviewed, and this is the bit that has absolutely peed me off. I'm going to do this because Ian has requested that I do so without swearing, okay? And I promise you I won't swear, okay? This is the bit that has really frustrated me, is the fact that he's already, as soon as somebody came along and waved the big check, up he's gone on the first available flight. He's got a whole Saudi nation offering him the dollar, okay? I get it that we've all moved jobs in the past for, to earn more money. We are paying him a good salary, okay, at Sellers Park. None of us knows what it is. Of course we don't. But you can bet your life he gets delivered a wheelbarrow full of cash every week, okay? And so he's well paid for what he does at Crystal Palace Football Club. And if I'm honest with you, if I'm brutally honest with you, he's damn good at it. I've actually reviewed my thoughts. I'm trying to be fair to him. I didn't want him back at the club after he walked out on us when we were sitting on top of the league when he went to Bolton. Parish decided to make, he kept in touch with him, brought him back. I wasn't happy with it about it. I never was, okay? But he did, and he's done a very good job. I'm trying to be fair here. So he's been interviewed at Newcastle United following the departure of Dean Ashworth to Man United. The fact that he's already been interviewed without any outcome is the part that has really enraged me. All our targets have been identified. Now, our summer, if Dougie Freedman gets appointed as Newcastle manager, technical director, our summer could very easily be scuppered by this one individual, okay? And if he does leave the club, I wish him well. I wish him success at Newcastle United, okay? But never, ever darken our door again, okay? Nigel, Ian, I will involve you in this conversation in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are not familiar with the documentary that Dougie Freedman did when he was full of contrition about the mistake that he made when he went to Bolton Wanderers, I just wanted to remind you of what he said at the time. Nigel.
I let myself down the way I acted, there's no doubt about that, and I didn't think of the consequences. That weekend definitely tarnished the feelings towards myself in the last 20 odd years, and that's what I strive to try and make up. It has to sit with me every day. If I can forgive myself for a wrong decision, then hopefully everybody else can. I knew I'd made the wrong decision very, very quickly into my Bolton career, but it was a decision I made. Regrettably, it was the wrong decision. Looking back, of course I would have went. Of course, I'd have sat here and would have had promotion. It was on the cards. Probably one of the things that drives me on right now, to make up for that disappointing decision that I made.
You made the mistake once, fella. You ain't making it again. If you go this time, you go for life. Okay? Move on. Boys, I know you disagree with me. I'm sure you disagree with me. Ian, you first.
Well, I agree with some of what you say, Nick. I just don't know why we're making such a big issue of this at this time when he is not gone yet. Do we actually know for certain that he's had an interview at Newcastle United? Is that cast iron 100% guaranteed?
In the chat, if you read the notes in the chat, and I think, Nigel, there was a message in the chat just a minute ago from Keith Madge Diamond. Good evening, Keith. I hope you're well, mate. I can't see it because it's disappeared off my screen. Apparently, the deal's already been done and it's over. There you go. I heard yesterday.
He says, let me read this then. Keith says, I heard at the game yesterday that the deal had been done, but I hope I'm wrong. It was a good source. Hope he gets persuaded that the future is bright and he can be part of that. Okay, thanks, Keith. Obviously, you're not going to tell us what your source was. Someone was talking to someone else. So these things do get lost in translation sometimes, I think. I would be disappointed to see him leave. And do you know what? I am inclined to agree with you. I don't think he would even want to come back a second time. If he does go to Newcastle United and does the job there and leaves Crystal Palace, especially if he leaves us in a bit of a pickle with regard to our incoming transfers, then I think he would never be welcome back. And it's not your decision, Nick. It's not my decision. It's Steve Parrish's decision, isn't it? At the end of the day, he calls the shots at the moment, anyway. Let's all hope he doesn't go. Let's hope it's a bit of a storm in the teacup. But the other thing is, of course, if he does go, is that really going to scupper the transfer plans that we have? He might have identified players, but if he's already linked them to Crystal Palace, they're already talking. Newcastle might not want him. He might say to Newcastle, to Eddie Howe, I've got this player, and he says, I don't want him, but we do want him. So, it's not as straightforward as saying he's going to take all our best players or anything like that.
You're playing devil's advocate there, Ian. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say that Eddie Howe will say, okay, those players you've identified, I like them as well. Go and get them. Okay, we don't know who they are. That's the thing. Okay, so whoever they take in at Newcastle, maybe we've already identified that player as somebody with serious potential, and away we go. Tim, your views, please, mate, and I'll come to you, Paul.
Yeah, to be honest, to me, it's a bit like transfer windows. There's so much conjecture, that there's so much conspiracy theories. Until I actually see it in concrete on the press or on the Palace website that he's gone, then I'll believe it. But surely he's like a player. He's under contract for a set period of time, and he may want to go. But if he's got another year on his contract, is it a case where he goes on garden leave for that year? We still get the players that he's witnessed. I don't know. I hope he doesn't go. But you can't look. We haven't got the resources Newcastle have got, so you can't blame him for looking to be able to have a bigger reach. But the other thing to say with Newcastle is, how close are they to FFP and sustainability? Just because he's going to that big club with a lot of money, they're not going to necessarily be in a position where they can spend that kind of money. So, yeah, I'm on the fence. I'm going to wait and see what happens.
On the subject of his contract, I believe you'll find somebody in that position will actually be salaried as opposed to on a fixed-term contract like a player. So it's not quite the same thing. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle have lost their director by the same basis. If he's under contract, they will either have to pay us compensation or he'll have to sit out his contract in his garden. So that there'll be that way or the other. I mean, I've got a couple of points on it. Dougie Freedman, when you go back to the first time he left, it was hugely disappointing for everyone. We were top of the table, and it was a bolt from the blue. No one expected him to walk out, all this sort of stuff. I think he had a lot of credit in the bank back then, because any of us who saw him as a footballer and was there at Stockport the day he pretty much single-handedly saved us, it was tough to take, but you sort of leveled it out a bit. Now, it's the football food chain, unfortunately. Going to Bolton when you're top of the league at Crystal Palace, a club who's just gone down, it wasn't logical. And that's what the problem was everyone had with it. It's like, why are you taking a step backwards? In this case, it's the hierarchy of football. Newcastle is a bigger job, is a bigger club, is a much more ambitious target for someone like him. So, whereas, yeah, as we all say, it would be not good for him to leave. We're on the cusp of good things, we're all hoping, and we wanted to keep it together. It's one of those jobs that you probably can't turn down if you're a director of football. As you say, money, double, triple salary, whatever, who knows what it'll be. There's a project going on up there, and if you've got any ambition, you're going to want to be part of it. And it's the food chain. If we were taking someone from lower down, we wouldn't understand their frustrations. But that's where we are. Players, managers, directors, bigger clubs will poach them.
Thank you, mate. I'm going to finish up with Lee Lockwood's comments in the chat. He said, guys, Dougie is not the Messiah. Don't forget that he's brought in a lot of crap to the club, as well as some of the better ones. He's not responsible for all of our success. Far from it as it goes. There's others that look at players within the club. Yeah, fair point. But I would draw your attention to Michael Elise, Ebri Eze, Adam Wharton, Decore, Lerma. I'm sorry, but these are Dougie's signings, okay? And they are the core of our current success, okay? They are the core of our current success. And if he does bugger off, okay, that'll be it in my world for Dougie Freedman. Go on, mate.
I'd be more concerned, I think, if we didn't have Oliver Glasner. You know, Glasner, I know he's worked miracles in a short space of time, but he must have some fantastic connections on the continent in football. So, you know, whilst he might even be disappointed if Dougie Freedman leaves the club at this juncture, given that he's only just arrived, surely he will have his own network of people that he could bring in that could do a job equally just as good, you know. So, you know,
and I make you right, Ian. I make you right, because Mark Drew has just made the point, the final point I was going to make on it. Maybe, just maybe, that Oliver Glasner knows a good director of football to replace him. Quite possibly. That's by the by, okay. And I hope he does, and I hope you're right, Mark. Okay, this is the point about Freedman leaving us again. Okay, last time. This will be the last time. Right, drawing a line under it there. I'm sure some of you agree with me. A lot of you won't agree with me. That's absolutely your prerogative. That was my personal opinion. Can we go to the lineup for yesterday's game, please, gentlemen? And there you go. It's Henderson, Munoz, Klein, Anderson, Richards, Mitchell, Wharton, Hughes, Elise, Mateta, and Eze. And obviously the most important one there, of course, is young Hughesy, who got, well, it was a strange old injury yesterday, the way it happened. It was just simply a slip. There was no malice in the challenge whatsoever, in my opinion. But obviously he was replaced very early on, which we're going to come to. Ian, I'm going to shut up for 10 minutes and leave it to you, if you don't mind.
Fine, okay. So, lineup, as you just heard, unchanged from the winning lineup against Manchester United earlier in the week. So we travel in good numbers to Molineux. It was good to be there yesterday, Paul, wasn't it? You know, on the pitch side, not stuck up in the corner like we were last season, but along the side of the pitch with the sun in our eyes for most of the game. And when they put the fire up at the beginning, God, it's quite hot then. It really was hot when that happened. But look, you know, a few stats to start with. 5 victories in the last 5 games that both Eze and Elise have started in the same starting 11. Jean-Philippe Mateta, 9 goals in 11 games for him. And I love this one from Match of the Day, which I picked up, is when you've got the 3 of them starting together up top. Look at those stats there. 7 games where they've started together and 6 victories, you know, a win percentage of 86%. Now, I know it's a small sample, but it's a fantastic stat. and they really do look the real deal together. So thanks, Nigel, for that. Yeah, so we started brightly enough. Wolves, though, they come into the game on a poor run of form. They'd only won 1 in 8 coming into this, but they started okay for the home side, I think. And I thought early on we didn't look quite at it in the first 10 minutes or so. And I think, as you've already mentioned, Nick, the early substitution threw us off a little bit because Will Hughes has been so good for us in recent weeks. And you said there's no malice in it. I don't think there was really a lot of malice in it, but I think it was a bad foul from Hughes. I think he was late in taking Cunha out. And because he was late, he hurt himself worse than the other player. And, of course, the game was stopped for 2 or 3 minutes while they saw to him. And he went off. And, not surprisingly, really, that Armada wasn't ready to come on because we weren't expecting to make that substitution. So we played for 2 or 3 minutes with 10 men at that stage before we got him onto the pitch. There were a couple of early chances for us. Eze was played in by Mateta. Mateta picked the pocket of a Wolves centre-back. They tried to play out from the back, Wolves, and they got caught early on. Eze's got to do better there, I think. He's got to hit the target for me. But the challenge came in quite late and it put him off. And then there was another big chance, wasn't there, that we should have scored. I think I turned around to my mate and I said, we should be 2-0 up now, when Elise missed. And it was Muniz playing quite high up the pitch again. He was involved and he fed Mateta down the right. And Mateta here turns provider, which he doesn't do too often, crosses the ball, and it was Elise dragged his shot well wide of the post. And you're thinking then, whoa, 2 big chances gone begging there, and we should be in front. Before we scored, of course, but before we scored, Munoz was for the long ball, and I don't know why he was so far forward. I don't know if you remember this one, and the guy brings him. Well, he brings the defender down, but there was nothing in it. He barely touched him, and because this guy was the last man, and Munoz would have been in on goal, the ref just blows up straight away. And I thought it was a really soft free kick, really soft. In the ground, I thought it was soft. I thought it was soft watching it back, and at this stage, it's still 0-0. But we do eventually take the lead on 26 minutes. And just simply lovely football, guys. I don't know if you counted the passes. I did, because I've done the analysis for this podcast. But there were 12 passes in the build-up before we scored that goal from Elise, who takes the ball from Adam Wharton. Nice little assist from Adam. And there you can see it if you're watching the pod here live. Elise cuts in from the right-hand side on his left foot, and he curls it right in the left-hand corner. But look at Muniz. Muniz is in the middle of the pitch here. He's got loads of space around him. He's screaming for the ball. He's absolutely screaming for the ball. And I'm sure it's only a matter of time before he scores a goal for us. He's well overdue a goal with the number of chances he's had. But it's 1-0. And you're not going to believe this, Nick, because you weren't there with me. But I told you, remember the Liverpool goal when I said I lost my glasses in the celebration?
Yeah.
Well, I lost them again yesterday in the celebration. Albeit it was a different pair. All right, it's a different pair of glasses. But the guy next to me knocks them off. Went flying. And I thought, oh, my goodness. And they were on the floor in the row in front. So, fortunately, no one trod on them and I managed to get them back again. But I'm going to have to get some kind of old man's thing to put on them or something.
Chain around your neck. You're going to get
Because it's 2 away games where we've taken the lead where I've lost my glasses. So, just bonkers. But I did enjoy the second one a lot more, which was just 2 minutes later. We didn't have to wait long to be 2-0 up. And it was Elise again, wasn't it? Elise again involved from the off, jinking run into the box. And as you said earlier, what was Klein doing right up there? He's a centre-back, but he's right up there in the box. And I thought he took it wonderfully. He was really unlucky not to score himself. But the ball then falls kindly to Mateta. He's in the right place at the right time. I think it would have been harder to miss. Even Nick, you could have scored that one probably if you're in that position.
Hold the bank on it, mate.
And it was 2-0. And inside half an hour, we're 2 in front. Happy days. Anything to add from anyone else? Just so I can have a quick drink.
Paul, you were there, yes, Go on, mate.
Yeah, no, as Ian says, it was once we settled into the game, should have scored 2. I like the way Michael Elise didn't celebrate his first goal because it shows he's still frustrated that he missed the first one and the easy one. So he felt like he just negatived out or positived out the negative. So
can I ask you about that, Paul? Is that what you think the reason was, or is that a little bit of arrogance?
If you see the second goal, 2 minutes later, he celebrates on his own. I mean, he I know he didn't celebrate against Man United last year, and he came out and said, "Well, I don't always celebrate because it's my job," which is a bit of a it's a bit of a flippant remark because you do want to celebrate, but he celebrated the second and third goals. I think he was just so annoyed that the way he's playing, that miss would have bugged him. And he said the other week, we discussed last week how he was stood in the Fulham dressing room annoyed with himself for missing chances there as well. So I think they linger with him. So once he put that right, I think he was just like, right, okay, I'm back to level now. I'm not negative. I've leveled out. So I don't think there was anything in that. And like I said, 2 minutes later, he played a part in the second goal, and then when Mateta put it in, he's on his own, jumping up and down. So it's, no problem there.
Go on, Tim.
But then again, like you're saying, what's Klein doing there? But then I'm sure looking at that picture when Mateta scores, you got Mitchell right next to him. So again, Mitchell's right forward, as another attacker. So
and Munoz as well. Munoz was in the box as well. He's there every time.
I think, boys, what you've identified there, if I'm brutally honest, in a nutshell, Mr. Glasner, and that's what he brings to the party, and that's what he's changed. Okay, and I think, do you know what? It worries me about maybe what's being left behind. On the halfway line is only leaving one or two. Probably only Anderson back there. That's one for next season to worry about. But for the moment, let's celebrate what we got.
We move on. We almost scored from a corner shortly after that. Almost,
we didn't.
I think at the end of the season, imagine being 3-0 up against Villa in the final game. We'll just be wanting to score from a corner if we haven't scored from a corner. So it was a swung in from the left. Anderson got his head to it, headed it back across goal. I think Mitchell got a touch to it, and it fell to Richards, who headed over the bar. It was quite a long way over the bar, but it wasn't a bad effort. By our standards from a corner anyway. Wolves then hit the bar. I think this is probably the closest they came to scoring, other than their actual goal. In as much as it was a good move from them. Ait-Nouri, he was a bit of thorn in our side at times. I like him as a wing back playing forward. He's similar to Munoz in that respect. He crosses the ball, and it was the other wing back, Doherty, that got up and headed well above any challenge. There was no challenge in our 6-yard or just outside the 6-yard box. And I thought in the ground, Hendo got a fingertip to it.
He did.
Did he?
They showed it, yes.
100%.
No, they showed it, yeah.
And I called that, and I didn't. I think I messaged you this morning, Ian. I said that was Speroni-esque against Brighton.
I thought you were talking about the one in the second half.
No. He tipped it onto the bar. Yeah, he really did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it was the finest of touches then, if that was the case. Because on the camera, I watched it back a couple of times. I thought, did he actually touch that or not? Difficult to see. But in real time, it looks as if he did. So anyway, it's they haven't scored, and it's still 2-0. Eze was fouled in the box as well. VAR checked it, and then Wharton shot wide. So we go in at 2-0 and comfortable. Feels comfortable, very happy half-time atmosphere in the away end at Molineux, of course. Wolves score then in the second half. There wasn't a huge amount happened before that in the second period. This goal, we need to talk about it a little bit because in the ground, it's given offside straight away. The linesman has no hesitation whatsoever. He flags. Okay. In that clip there, we can see that still image. He looks dead level. But we talked about this pre-show. That green line looks wonky to me. It looks like he's drawn to play him onside. Now, I know that's not the case. It can't be the case. But it's it was the finest of margins. And it fell in Wolves' favour. I think if we look at another decision that went against us when we scored a goal earlier this season away from home, this is the goal at Bournemouth, the offside at Bournemouth. And there's really hardly anything in this at all. It's almost like spot the difference, really, between those two pictures. And yet that one is given off. So the margins are so fine. And it's going to be more automated next season. It's going to speed it all up, which is a good thing, of course, because it took for an age. Because Wolves celebrated their goal. Then the linesman flagged. So we're all celebrating it's offside. And 2 minutes later, they're all celebrating again because they eventually decided to give it. But I don't know what you think, guys, but I just thought it was a crazy decision. And they probably got it right in the end. But they halved the margin, and we're 2-1 in front instead of 2-0.
But the point I made pre-show was on both of those images that Nigel put up on the screen, use the 18-yard line as the straight line, okay, and look at both of the images, and both times the lines are a different gap at the top of the screen as they are to the bottom of the screen. Look at the green line there. There's a closer gap at the top than it is down the bottom. And on the next one, on that one there, it's exactly the same again. People are going to say that's perspective, I'm sure. Okay, and they're probably right, but you've got to use the 18-yard line as the straight line. It's actually a straight line, and neither of those lines that have been drawn by VAR are straight, and they're not straight. Okay, on both occasions. So there you go.
But we were undone, is that he worked it well, and But what I suppose the point I'm really trying to make here is that the margins are really, really fine. Another just a few inches back again, he's in front, he's given off, and it's ruled out. So anyway, a bit of a wake-up call for us maybe, and they could have levelled. Shortly after that, they got another similar move, cross the box, and Kleiny, I think, just did enough to put their striker off. He did really, really well. So, if that goes in at all, it's different. We then get the third, and this is the game. This is the goal really decides the game. It kills the game off. It was Amada in his own half. He plays the ball forward. You can't see it in this picture. Amada's played the ball forward to Elise. He's in space. He turns and he feeds Eze. He's on the shoulder of the last defender, and he gets in really quite easily. Takes it around the keeper. Keeps his calm. Keeps his cool. Makes it 3-1. Huge cheer from the away end. Apparently, it was the 8th time that Elise has assisted Eze. Which is some kind of record as well, apparently. So at 3-1, Wolves didn't give up. They came at us again, and Henderson made 2 really good saves within a short period of time. One was down to his left at the post. I think it was a Sariba shot. And then from the resulting corner, it was Lamina, the Wolves player, who strikes the ball really sweetly. And this one, it's down his throat, but he tips it over the bar. And a really, really good save. So 2 saves in quick succession from Henderson, proving his pedigree really as a top goalkeeper. And we're lucky to have him as a second choice, I suppose. Amada then picks up his first yellow card. I just want to talk about this because he picks up his first yellow card really, really cheaply. Wolves get a free kick and he kicks it hardly any distance, about 5 yards, maybe 5-10 yards away. And the referee sees it, and it's yellow by the rule of the game this season. And he's on a booking. And I think Munoz got his yellow card pulled for something, something similarly innocuous. Yeah, for brandishing a card in the first half. They've got to cut that kind of stuff out because it's unnecessary. And it cost us. It didn't cost us any points yesterday. And I suppose if it's not going to cost us points, then you can't get too upset about it. And it's a player who. We're really going to miss him in the final game of the season. Probably not. But he gets back. He covers Richards. Richards is outdone by Cunha down the left-hand side. Richards should have done better in this position, I think. He should have just put the ball into touch. He had plenty of opportunity to slide in and get that ball out and then regroup again and defend it. But he didn't. He tries to win the ball, tries to be clever. And Amada catches Cunha. And he catches him on, the ref gives a penalty straight away. What I don't get here is the referee's looking at it. His view's not obstructed. He's looking straight at it. And he gives a pen. But thankfully, VAR gets it correct this time. So VAR has got a place, hasn't it? And it came to our rescue here because otherwise it's 3-2 and it makes it a little bit different. But Amada gets his marching orders anyway for the second yellow. The resulting free kick comes to nothing. And the game is almost over. Make a couple of late substitutions. I should have said earlier that Edouard comes on. I've got it written down here somewhere. Someone help me out. He came on for Mateta, didn't he, early on in about 70 minutes? And there was another substitution around then as well. Someone help me out.
No worries. I can't remember who it was now.
They say Elise off, didn't he, at the end?
No, that was later. I'm just talking about the earlier sub.
It's obviously Hughes. Hughes went on.
Hughes. No, that was earlier. Forget it. Don't worry. I'll come back to it. So the late substitutions were Eze and Elise off on 88 minutes for Ward and Schlupp. So, we're We're bringing a defender on for our creative players, and we have backs to the wall a little bit. But 2-goal margin gives us that opportunity to just see the game out and win 3-1. If we look at the stats, they had more possession than us, 62%. Glasner said in his post-match interview, he said, in other games, we've restricted the opposition to no more than 10 shots on goal. This time it was 14 for Wolves, and 8 of those were on target. So, they could have done better. They could have scored more. But the XG was in our favour. The XG isn't on there. The XG was 2.69 for Palace, 1.36 for Wolves. And we're convincing winners at the end of the day, which was really pleasing, especially when you travel. It's great, isn't it, to win away from home? I want to pose a question to you guys first, rest of you guys, and then in the chat, I'd like your views. We've seen Michael Elise do some great things with the football. The goal he scored yesterday in the first half, the goals he scored against Manchester United earlier this week, they're fresh in the memory. The fact that he can put it on a sixpence for anyone. I want to ask you a question. Do you think Michael Elise is as good as somebody like Phil Foden?
I'll take that one. I'll start with anyway. Anyone who's watched this show before, and without wanting to go all the Matrix, to me, I think Michael Elise is the one. I think he's going to go to the very, very top of this game. He's not far off it already. I think he's one of the best, probably one of the best footballers I've ever seen. He's obviously got a long way to go yet. His vision is second to none for a 21-year-old, whatever, 22. He's brilliant, and I think if he was in that Manchester City team, he'd be having the same effect as Phil Foden. If he can do the numbers he's producing with Crystal Palace, he's got 15 goal assists in 18 games this season, 10 goals, 5 assists. He was the 11 assists last year, which only De Bruyne had more than him. If he could do that with these players, then in a good team, let's say this, the assist rule, the assist stat is one of the most ridiculous stats in the game to me, because Michael Elise could dribble around 10 players, lay the ball in the middle of the box, and Edouard could scoop it over the bar, and he doesn't get an assist. If he was giving all those balls to Haaland, he'd get 100 assists. So it's a bit deceiving, but I think Elise is top notch and will be top player.
Yeah, and you saw it yesterday with the second goal. He would have had the assist for Klein, his effort. If it had gone in, he gets nothing. He assisted the assister on this occasion. But I just think he's that good. I agree with you, Paul. I just think he's different gravy completely. I mean, Eze's excellent as well, but they're different players, and Elise is still so young. And I don't get why Deschamps isn't going to take him to the Euros. I just think that's
we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet.
No, we don't. But he's not even played for the national side yet. But surely he's got to go, hasn't he?
He's got to have a look at him. He must be looking at him. And I actually agree with Paul. I think he's going to be my only concern about Michael, and I think you're both bang on. He's going to be a top international player for France at some point in the future. My only concern is that we sell him too cheap without any sell-on clause in the summer, and that's my only concern. Go on, Paul.
Well, we're hamstrung with the release clause, aren't we?
Exactly.
At least it's an improvement where it was. Listen, let's look back at we paid Reading £8 million for him. They must think they've had their pants pulled down now, looking at him, mustn't they? He really must.
Is there a sell-on clause to that one, by the way?
I don't know about that, but there was an original release clause of 35 million. And last summer, there was lots of talk. I mean, the deal was already done. He was going to Chelsea for 35 million. Of course, he didn't. He turned around and said he wanted to stay. And they renegotiated his contract and increased the release clause. What we don't know, I don't think, is how much that new release clause is. I suspect it's 65, 70 million, something in that order.
If only we knew a FAB member that is close to the club, they might have that information for us. Tim.
But the point I want to make is, so you had a release clause previously that Chelsea activated. He still chose to stay. So what's to say, even if it is a 60, 70, whatever million release clause that a club activates, he could still turn around and say, actually, no, I want to stay.
Well, that is, Tim, that is the beauty of the situation. That's the beauty of the run we're on now. I've said this before. if we'd have just dribbled to the end of the season, then a club in Europe, a Newcastle or Villa, might have been attractive to him. Or sorry, not Villa's, but wrong. Tottenham might have been an attractive move to him. Now, with what he sees happening here, and he can see there's great things here, hopefully, and there's potential, and he obviously likes playing for the manager the way he went and celebrated with him the other day. Now, it will take a better club an option to come in. Now he might say, well, actually, I'm not going to go to Man United after what we did to them the other day. I'm not going to go to a Spurs. If a Champions League club comes in, I might do it. But we're hopefully now making the decision harder for him. And he does seem a loyal bloke. He could have gone last year. No one could have complained. It was in his release clause. He obviously likes playing with Eze. He likes the club by all accounts. And yeah, he may well stick around. It would be great if he did.
Yeah, Gary Clark makes a great point in the chat there. He went straight over to Oliver Glasner, referenced the Fulham changing room shower conversation. I agree with you, Gary. It was great to see, and there's clearly an affection there between the two. And I just wondered if Paul's point just now about staying, has any relevance to that as well. Sorry, Ian, carry on, mate.
No, that's good. It's a good debate about Elise, and let's hope he does stay. Let's hope we see lots more performances like that in a red and blue shirt. But I think it would be mad if he didn't go to the Euros. I was trying to come back to what I missed out earlier. The other substitution, of course, was Mark Gahey coming on. Now, I don't know how I forgot that, but I did have it written down. I couldn't find it. Now, he came on for Mitchell. I don't know whether Tarek was carrying some kind of knock. He'd obviously played 70 minutes and done okay. And I was a little bit surprised. We talked about how good Kleiny's been. And it's good man management probably from Glasner that he doesn't change a winning team. And that Mark Gahey's still got to wait for his opportunity to play football again at this level with the Euros pending. Now, Mark Gahey's got 8 England caps, I think. Until he was injured, he was almost a shoo-in to go as a centre-back for England in these Euros. And now there's a question mark over whether he's going to go because he hasn't played much football. But he came on, he played 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it was, at the end of the game. He did all right again. He did well when he came on just for a cameo against Man United as well. Another question to you then, is Mark Gahey going to the Euros? Is he going to go with England? Paul's saying yes. Why do you think yes, Paul?
I think he'll play this weekend. I like the fact he hasn't come straight back in. It shows people like Nathaniel Klein, if you come in, you do a job, you'll stay in the team. I think that's good, and it shows how well they're all playing. I think he will play this Saturday on the basis that it would be harder for him to go to England without that, whether we rest Mitchell or Klein or whatever. So I think he'll play this week. That will give enough to Southgate. And the other reason is I just don't think England have that many options. Obviously, Maguire's now out injured. He might not play again this season for Man United. So he's going to be picking players who haven't played many games anyway. And as I say, looking at the competition at the centre-back places, I mean, if he doesn't get into Lewis Dunk, then, well, Southgate's more of an idiot than we thought. So I think Gareth knows he's one of his best defenders. And, yeah, I'll be very surprised if he doesn't go, to be honest.
I've got two questions, if you don't mind. I'm going to jump in for a couple of minutes because I've got a couple of questions. Paul Bristow just said something in the chat, boys. And I don't actually know how this actually... So Michael Elise has featured for the French under-21 national side.
Mm.
Can he be picked for England?
Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
So with the form that he's currently showing, could he get a call up?
I don't think England need him necessarily because they've got Foden and they've got Saka. That's my personal view on that at the moment. But also, he's pledged his allegiance to France. Mm-hmm. He said he wants to play for France. So I don't think he would. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's worth a conversation really about him going to England. Paul might feel differently.
Okay, Paul, before you answer, same question to you. Okay, Adam Walton.
I said last week I think Adam Walton will go to the Euros. I think Southgate was there the night he outshone Kobe Mainoo. I think it's probably his competition. I think, as I said last week, Adam Walton has taken to this league like a duck to water, and no one can be failed to be impressed with how he plays. He's doing everything, the basics, the complicated stuff, passing, breaking up. He does everything you need. I mean, he's twice Calvin Phillips already, and Calvin Phillips is probably still on Southgate's radar, even though he would struggle to take him this time. So I think he will go. I don't think it'd be that much of a shock. It'd be a shock to the rest of the football world, obviously, but to us it wouldn't. And just to go back to the Michael Elise one, once he's played a competitive game for the senior team, then he will not be able to switch.
Yes, that's right. I mean, talking about Wharton, interestingly, I think Mainoo was injured for Man United this afternoon.
No, he played.
Did he not get injured? Did he not go off at the end?
I don't think that was injury.
Oh, was it not? Okay. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I think he's a better player than Mainoo, but I would say that I'm biased. But so there's two players that you think, Paul, are going to the Euros from Palace. You think Gahey and you think Wharton. Now there are three others we can make a case for.
I think
just
Eze
do those, Nick. Is that right?
I think Eze will as well.
You think Eze will go?
Yeah.
What about Henderson?
No.
Okay. What about Mitchell? We've got no left backs.
Yeah, no, I would make a case for Mitchell, but I just don't think he will. I think he'll rather play Trippier or Walker on the left. I just think Tariq's made his run a little bit too late with his form. But again, I would pick him out over those two at left back. But I think Eze, Southgate always liked him anyway, and there's nothing more he could have done in the last 5-6 weeks to get back in that squad.
And same argument for Elisa as well. So
I think Eze, Walton, and Gahey will go.
So why not Henderson?
Because I don't think he trusts him enough. He's not really. He's got his favourite goalkeepers. We know that, and I think he will stick with the likes of Ramsdale, Pickford. We know will go.
Yeah,
and he may even put Pope back now. He's fit. I'm just not sure. He's not sold on Henderson as a guaranteed fit or not. Fit.
I just think it's poor form if they pick a player like Ramsdale and even Pope who've played very little football.
I agree.
I know it's contrary to what we said about Gahey, but there we are.
Boys, I want to refer back to the conversation we were talking about earlier on with reference to players for this weekend. Nigel, could you put Dale's comment back up on the screen so the guys know what I'm referring to, please? Dale Martin put in the chat about 10 minutes ago if Nigel was going to pop up on the screen.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I just wanted to pick up on something that was said in that chat. I'm just waiting for Nigel to catch up with us if he's under pressure. While we're waiting for Nigel to do that, something that's remiss. Out in Canada right now, there's a guy called Simon Cribbin who's watching us, avid follower of the show. Simon, if you are watching this, you know that I'm no longer on Facebook or Messenger. I have messaged you on WhatsApp. Please check your WhatsApp messages, Simon, because I'm trying to get in touch with you. So Dale said, due to Amahada's suspension and Hughes' injury, Riedewald to start on Sunday and be replaced by somebody like Ozo so that Sellers can give Gyro a send-off. Okay, so I'm coming to you guys for your views on that in a minute. But something that you've missed out there, Dale, and thank you for your point that was well made, is that Jefferson Lerma is back in full training and will feature probably this weekend. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Yeah. Sorry, Tim.
No, I think Amada should never wear a Palace shirt again. I just don't think he's good. He's too much of a liability. You know, right? He doesn't get many chances, but I've yet to see him be worthy of putting a Palace kid on. So as far as I'm concerned, definitely don't have him anywhere near the starting team next week.
If people think I'm hard about Dougie Freedman, I think you'd be particularly hard about the young lad there. Yeah. Give him a chance. He did look lightweight yesterday, I grant you. But to say what you just said.
Game, but Nick, he always looks lightweight. I've yet to see him give me any confidence when he's come on.
Okay. Your opinion, and you're very much entitled to it. Paul.
Well, Tim is safe for next week because obviously he's suspended.
Yeah.
To go back to Dale's point, it was noticeable yesterday Tompkins and Gyro weren't on the bench. Now we've said we're not giving a contract. They can't play for Crystal Palace because if they get injured on our watch now, we'll be responsible for them. They don't want to get injured when they're out of contract.
Excellent point.
Excellent point. They're not going to play for us again. Hopefully they'll be on the walk round at the end of the pitch and we can give them the send-off there. Going back to Tim on Hamada, I actually thought he did okay yesterday. For someone who doesn't play much, he came on very early. He gets 10, 15 minutes a game. So coming on that early, he was always going to fade towards the end anyway. Now, he did a few nice things. Yeah, he did a few bad things, but he's our sixth choice central midfielder at this point, and he hasn't had much experience. And you could tell there were times he thought he had more time on the ball than he did. And as I say, he wasn't as quick, but that's just not playing in the Premier League. So I thought he did okay yesterday. He's obviously not the finished article. As I said, he's going to be our sixth choice midfielder. But yeah, I thought he did okay, to be fair to him.
And in fairness, Tim, there is a lot of people out there agreeing with your sentiments. So, Ian.
Yeah, I'm with Paul on this, Tim. Sorry, mate. He played all right. You know, he did all right. You couldn't really. Yes, he was a bit slower off the pace, but he came in and fitted into the system really well yesterday. You know, his ball through to Elise for the third goal was excellent, really good. You know, he looked up, he picked him out, and it was super. And you know, he was covering Richards when they attacked down their left. Richards got beat, and he was back, and he made the challenge, and he was late, obviously, but he stopped the bloke getting the cross in. They could have easily scored from that. So, you know, it's a silly sending off because he shouldn't have been booked for the first one. But I think we just need to give him a chance. And I think he's got a future as a squad player. I wouldn't start him yet, of course not. But he's definitely not as bad as you're making out, mate.
Paul.
Yeah, as George has just said in the chat, he makes some crazy tackles. Again, I think that's just not being up to the pace of the Premier League, and that will only come with playing more minutes. And the problem is he's not going to get those minutes because of the people ahead of him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention at the top of the show why I'm wearing this old shirt. Okay, I can't see what you boys are wearing. You two are wearing the newer version. What you got, Tim?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, pretty old. Anyway, so the wonderful and talented Jason Cadle, who most of you will know for his appearances on the show, and the fact that he did the Bring a Scarf to Palace initiative not so long ago. He's doing a little bit of fun this weekend as well, okay, for the Villa game. And those that you're interested, he's asking you to wear a retro to Palace. Now, this is not one of the fake ones that are in the club shop right now. This is the original. I said, I think nearly all my shirts are retro ones because they're the original bloody old things, okay? This thing's starting to bobble up a little bit now. But it's just for a bit of fun. Wear your retro to Palace. Reference Jason Cadle. Good on you, Jace. We love you on this show. You know we do. Right, what we got coming up? So, obviously, we've got all these fixtures ahead of us over the next few weeks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook and YouTube land, your predictions, please, for this Sunday's game, which is as they all are, a 4:00 kickoff on Sunday the 19th of May against home Villa. I think it will be very simple. Claire Davies is out in the chat, by the way. Claire, we love you and lovely to see you back on the show where you belong. You're retro, Nick. Yes, I know I'm retro, love. I'm not. I'm actually prehistoric. Great to see you out there, honey. Give me a call. So your predictions for this weekend's, I think it's very simple. It's very simplistic to say Palace are going to win this weekend. They're a damn good team, Aston Villa, and he's creating something up there in the Midlands, which is a pretty good thing. And here they come. They're flying through. John Knox, 3-2. Steve Jupp, 2-0. Paul Wilshire says 3-2. Mark Bushell, 4-2. Steve Brimble. Look at you all out there. There's so many of you watching this evening, and I'm immensely grateful. But this deep into the season, and you're still out there in your droves, giving up your Sunday evening to spend an hour or so with us. And as a team, I know we are very grateful. The next show that we're going to be covering for your benefit, okay, talking about so many people. Nigel, if you can bring the graphic up on the screen about the next show, is going to be the last game of the season show, where we're going to do a bit of a recap of the season. Obviously, we're going to cover the Villa game one way or t'other. Or more importantly, he doesn't know it yet because I haven't told him yet. Mr. Noble will. And that's on next Wednesday, the 22nd of May at 8:00 in the evening. Now, the reason I mention that now, so far in advance, is because we are getting as many of the presenters, the Red and Blue Review team on as we possibly can. Now, we believe our license on the software that we use allows us to have up to 10 people on, so at any one time. So it will be busy. It will be a pain in the arse to host. I can assure you. People waving at me all the time to get their comments on, but we'll have a bit of fun. We're going to celebrate the season because, let's face it. I think it's right in saying if we win against Villa next week in the 12 games that Glasner has. Paul, is this your stat?
No, but I think I know where you're going. Okay,
so if we win against Villa next week, in 12 games, we'll have scored more points than Roy Hodgson did for the rest of the whole season, which I think is fantastic effort. So we are going to celebrate that fact, and we are going to celebrate safety. We're going to celebrate our Crystal Palace 12th, okay, of course, which is where we want to be. But better than that, actually, if the results went our way, we could still take that lot out down the south coast. I just thought I'd also, talking about stats, just throw one more at you. The Premier League table since Oliver Glasner took over as Crystal Palace manager. Okay, we're going to do that one in a second. Man City have taken 29 points since the appointment of Glasner. Arsenal have taken 28 points, and Crystal Palace have taken 21 points. Oliver Glasner, the magician. Paul.
We've also scored 52 goals for the first time in a Premier League season. It's our now highest tally of goals for as a Premier League team this season.
Stato.
Very good.
Like it.
Well done, Nigel. Right on cue, Nelly. We're good, lad. Go on, Ian.
There are lines, damn lines, and statistics, aren't there? And I love that current form table, which Nigel flashed up. Put it up again, Nigel, because we need to enjoy this moment. You know, it's a shame it's not the first 6 games of the season, but this is the form table. So here we are. We sit second behind City, who've got a perfect 100% record. You know, you can't see City not winning every game, their last 2. But it's just fantastic, isn't it? The last 6 games sitting second in the form table. And if we win our last game, we can finish 10th, which is amazing. Brighton have got to lose both, and Bournemouth have got to lose as well for that to happen. But there's no reason why we can't dream about that, you know. And there was only a few weeks back we were looking over our shoulders still, but you know it seems absolutely crazy. But there we are. Such is life.
And 49 points would be our record tally as well.
Yeah, it
Which
would.
is always, I always find ironic, considering we went down on 49 points in the first ever Premier League season.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. What a great point that is. Paul, for 1 minute, I don't know if it's the reflection of the camera that you're using, but I actually think we embarrassed you there with the Stato version. I think you went red for the first time since you did the
I do look very red, but that's because the sun was, as Ian
said.
I'm sunburned from yesterday.
And I will add, you've been a great addition to the team this year, and other people have said the same thing. So you ain't going nowhere, mate. You are now firmly entrenched as part of our presenting team. So good stuff. People love you out there. Listen, boys, I was saying pre-show that this show may easily overrun because of my whinge that I wanted to get out about Freedman. Okay, we'll watch that with interest develop this week or over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully by the time we do that last show, it will be completely one way or another. Give me a final positive, gentlemen. Okay, and there's a million you can pick from out there. Tim, give me a final. Is there any news from Fab, by the way, before we close? And then one final positive thought from you.
Yeah, we've got a joint meeting with the club coming up in a couple of weeks that we are asking for certain things to be happening, which I can't really mention yet, but will do once it goes through. So that should be good. A positive thing for me, it's the manager. Even though the form we've been on, the results, the way we're playing, listening to his post-match press conferences, the way he talks about progression going forward, it's music to my ears. It's so refreshing to have someone who speaks that much logic and has got that much confidence in the team already. Can only be good.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, I would have said Oliver Glasner, just like Tim, but to go further on that one, it's the biggest positive for me. I've said many times on this show and when I'm in matches with Ian, the thing that always did me under Hodgson was our mentality. And now we have the positive. Look, going forward, we're going to have a team next season that priority is to attack and score goals. As we said yesterday, Mitchell, Klein, they're in the box more, the opposition box more than our box. And even when Mitchell scored the other night, Munoz was right next to him. And the fact that our priority now is to score goals, attack the opposition, I think is going to, as I say, bode for a good season next year. Even if we do lose a couple, I trust Oliver will bring in a couple of players he knows or whatever to fill the gap. They obviously won't fill, if people Elise as they go, it'd be hard to fill, but they'll fill them enough. And I think we'll have a good positive season next year.
Ian.
Chloe says we're all going on a European tour. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, Chloe.
I can echo the guys' comments about Glasner. Of course, you know, he's been fantastic. But the players themselves, and Ollie's the first one to give the players credit after every game. You know, the first thing he says in every post-match interview, he says, is the players. Well done, the players. So, you know, he's got them set up right, but he gives them the credit when they execute his plan. And it's exciting because every single one of them is worthy of playing at the moment. There's no real weak link in, you know, you could argue in certain positions. Of course you could. But you look at the front three together, very, very exciting. You look at our centre-backs, you look at our wing-backs, you look at the midfield options, 2 goalkeepers. You know, so there's lots and lots to be positive about. And yeah, I just can't wait to next season. Really, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's going to be it's not going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be better than that, because roller coasters goes up and down. So we're going to be, you know, more of an upward trajectory, I think, next year.
Paul, very quickly.
Just one thing on the chat earlier. Colin Squires said about the rumour about playing in next season's kit next Saturday. There's strong rumours from quite well-known sources. It looks like Cinch are not renewing their sponsorship next year at this point. So we will be having a new sponsor next year by all accounts. So that probably would kibosh any plans to wear a new kit next year, unfortunately, on Sunday.
You heard it here first, folks. And now Paul actually nicked my my positive thought from from how we are, or where things are going at the moment. I'd like to personally congratulate the club surgeon. And we don't know who he is, but we have this surgeon that has actually opened 2 of our left back and our right back and removed their body clock compass away from them, because they don't know where their own 18-yard line is. They only know where the other 18-yard line is, and that is to be congratulated. I think it's been a wonderfully exciting few weeks. Okay, Ian's quite right what he says. I think we've got nothing but positivity to look forward to. The summer window is going to be transformation time for us. Okay, if we can bring in 4 or 5, lose with the 1 or 2 that we know that will go, and bring in 4 or 5. My God, where are we going to go next year? And it could be anywhere. Sachko Donetsk, because that's where we could be ending up. There is one other one I want to close, if you don't mind, boys, on our Instagram account. Tom Clark Samuel works tirelessly out there. Please give him a like, share, or follow, or whatever you do on there. Okay, red_and_blue_review. Give him a like, share, or follow. Tell him Nick sent you. Okay, and he'll be thrilled to bits, because he works tirelessly on that account, as Ian does on our Twitter account. If you see any tweets coming out from the Red and Blue Review account, it's nothing to do with me, it's to do with him, and he does a great job on there, for which I thank him. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook and YouTube land, thank you for joining us this evening. Boys, thank you for your contributions, as always. Nigel in the background, can't do it without you, mate. You're the backbone of what we do. On behalf of myself, Nick Philpott, and this extremely talented team, I wish you a safe week. We'll see you Wednesday the 20th for our end-of-season party. Good night, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Night.
See you guys.